As you may know, Tata Steel Chess 2026 has just begun, and I really wanted to show you guys this game between Vincent Keymer with the white pieces and Anish Giri with the black pieces, which has a really shocking ending. So, Vincent Keymer decides to start out with the move d4, and in the start of this game, we see that it comes out with the Queen's Gambit. And the first moves are very common, well-known, and very standard, and we get to this position, which has been reached in the Masters database about 20 times. So, Anish with the black pieces in this position decides to trade queens on the d1 square. Of course, Vincent Keymer decides to capture back, and now Anish Giri decides to pick up the pawn on c5. In this position, we have played 10 moves, and the position is very equal, and also with equal material. Now, Vincent Keymer starts to reroute his knight. He plays this move, knight d2, and now Anish Giri decides that this is a good time to castle. And well, Stockfish agrees as well. This is very equal so far, and we are only 11 moves in. So, remember when I said that Vincent Keymer was deciding to reroute his knight? Well, he decides to continue doing this. He moves his knight to the b3 square, attacking Anish Giri's bishop on the c5 square, where now Anish decides to move it back to the a7 square, just like this. Where now Vincent decides to bring his bishop back as well, except he moves his light square bishop back and moves it to e2 with the idea of trying to move it to f3 in the future to make it a bit more useful than what it would be on this c4 square. If you guys can see what I mean, once it comes to f3, it becomes more powerful and it just does a better job overall. Where now in this position, Anish Giri decides to play the move rook d8. He is offering Vincent Keymer a trade of queens, and now Vincent Keymer says no. He simply blocks it with this move bishop d2, also connecting his rooks and allowing a move such as rook c1, which you guys are going to see in the future. Also, Anish Giri decides to do the same. He decides to play this move bishop d7, and now Vincent Keymer plays rook e1, and these players kind of mirror each other's moves just like so. Where now Vincent decides to play a waiting move with the move king f1, slightly improving his position, and now Anish Giri decides to plop his rook onto the semi-open file with the move rook c8, just like so. Vincent now decides that this is a good time to trade rooks on the d8 square, and we get into this position 17 moves in, where as you guys can see from the eval bar, it is very equal. White has a slight advantage, but as we can see, it is very equal, and Stockfish doesn't really think much of it. And remember, as I said earlier, Vincent Keymer did move his bishop, so now the move rook c1 is very much possible, and that is indeed what he plays. Anish Giri now decides to slightly improve his position with this move h6, also the top move recommended by Stockfish, and now Vincent decides to play this move knight a4. The idea is first of all, of course, to open up his rook, but also it allows him to try and come to c5 in the future, which could be very helpful for him. And so now Anish Giri sees this very cool tactic. Obviously at the Grandmaster level, these things are very common and not looked at very much, but of course Anish finds a really cool tactic with this move knight d4. It looks like a terrible blunder because looks like a blunder of a knight, but the reality is after Vincent Keymer decides to capture on d4, well, this bishop is now opened up to attack the knight on a4, and now Anish can simply pick this up just like so. Where now Vincent Keymer decides to play the move rook c7. And this is where things start to derail for Anish Giri. Now, in this position, Stockfish recommends this move bishop c6 to defend this b7 pawn. However, Anish Giri plays a slight mistake, but that isn't the blunder that you guys saw on the thumbnail. Anish Giri played this move rook b8. Now, as you can see from the eval bar, white is now winning. A slight advantage, but not completely winning. But here we go. Vincent Keymer follows up with the move knight a5. There are now two attackers on this b7 pawn. But Anish crumbles. He plays this move, bishop takes d4. And some of you guys may have already spotted it. Vincent Keymer found the move rook c4. At the Grandmaster level, this is easy tactics, and it is as simple as this. It is a simple fork on the bishop on a4 and the bishop on d4. And in this position, Anish Giri says, I resign, and Vincent Keymer wins the game after just 23 moves. If you guys are wondering what Anish Giri could have done instead of capturing on d4, well, the computer recommends playing this move knight d5, letting the capture occur, and then capturing the pawn on d4 just like so, where as you can see, white has a minor advantage, but is not completely winning like in the other variation where we can see after this. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this little quick recap on the awesome game in this Tata Steel Chess 2026 Masters. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.